Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Well, it's time now to review headlines on today's newspapers with the Ombudsman of This Day, an Arise Media Group, and This Day Newspaper Limited Group Executive Director, Kayode Komolafe. Good morning. Happy Sunday to you. Always a pleasure to have you here. You just make our Sunday tonic program bright.
Thank you so much,
every Sunday. Thank you.
Morning.
Good morning, Steve. And good morning.
All right, so let's dive into it. We'll start with This Day on Sunday. The lead story here says NUPRC, that's the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, moves to enforce domestic crude oil supply obligation to feed emerging refineries. And the rider says threatens sanctions against saboteurs, says it will send wrong signals for Nigerian refineries to import crude. Summons 52 oil-producing companies, 6 crude oil requirements of refineries. Those are emphatic talking heads there from the NUPRC. And on top of that story, we have Bayelsa, Imo, Kogi polls. CDS, IG read the Riot Act, as they always do when elections are coming. And on the strip, which will be more like in sync with the NUPRC story, marketers hint of 800 Naira petrol pump price. The story is on page 6, and it will give a lot of people apprehension as to what is happening to the price of crude globally, and it will affect almost certainly the price of petrol, or the pump price of petrol in Nigeria. The window story says P and ID, how ex-CBN Governor Emefiele resisted pressure to pay off $11 billion, and Duaka explains. That's the former Attorney General, giving a bit of credit to the former CBN Governor on the contentious $11 billion issue, which thankfully Nigeria won't have to pay. And last but not the least is the cover picture celebrating the new Chancellor of the Vice Chancellor of the Augustine University, Professor Christopher Odetunde, the newly installed Chancellor of Augustine University, Mr. Femi Otedola, and the Archbishop and Metropolitan of the See of Lagos, visitor to the university and proprietor of the institution, Dr. Alfred Adewale Martins. And of course, the chair of the Board of Trustees, Sir Steve Omojafo, at the 5th convocation ceremony and investiture of Otedola as Chancellor of the University in Ekpe, Lagos recently. Right. I think there was a cash donation.
Yeah, Mr. Komolafe, I took this story for what's trending. A very important story. Femi Otedola donating 750 million naira to all the students at Augustine University, about 750 of them. So he gave them 1 million naira each. And he also donated a total of 1 billion for, reconstruction of some areas in that school. And that's besides the 2 billion that he donated back in 2019. I mean, he's done really well for those students. This story was huge because, we know Femi Otedola has been doing well with donation. And, just this weekend, I want to just pull up some of his biggest donations before we go. In 2019, he donated $14 million to Save the Children. 2021, still about this Augustine University, he donated $6 million to the building of that university. In 2011, $3.2 million gift to Federal University in Otoke. He also donated $2.9 million to the National Center in Abuja. This was in 2005. And also, during the coronavirus in 2020, he donated about $2.7 million. Another $1.5 million to the Michael Otedola University Scholarship Scheme, and another $1.5 million gift to the Olusegun Obasanjo Presidential Library. The billionaire that continues to give. I'd like to say congratulations to all the students. It's huge, and we just have to encourage more billionaires to donate in this manner if they can.
Everyone is now a billionaire in Augustine University.
A millionaire, I like that.
Billionaire students. All right, KK, those are the stories.
I agree with you. great news.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the front page photo of this day. It's a classical case of saying that a photograph, can tell a story more than thousands of words. I mean, that is exactly what the choice of this day editor on Sunday, has done by this,
He got to
So,
Jinika to
yes,
go researching.
join you. I join you,
Yes.
Oji, in congratulating Mr. Femi Otedola, as the new chancellor of Augustine University. I'm particularly touched, by this direct donation to the students themselves, and I think for especially those who are from less endowed homes, it will go a long way, to relieve, them. I think it's quite commendable,
Yes.
and I think we should also encourage, more public-spirited people of means, to do that. That is the only way we could ensure that tertiary education, because of the huge cost, is funded.
Especially now.
So the commendation,
Yes.
to Mr. Otedola is quite in order. Now, the front page of this day on Sunday today is quite a potpourri, story about, political and economic news, And if you permit, in a way, also a legal, legal and a moral story. And that is why I like to draw attention to the story on the window. That is the dismissal, of the by a London court of the award against Nigeria. That is $11 billion award, which was dishonestly, procured by the Process and Industrial Development Company, P&ID. Now, readers also will find it interesting that this same story of P&ID, which is a story that I imagine is going to linger because of the implications.
Yes.
First of all, good news, great news for our country that we are not now indebted. Because a country that was just, ironically, this case came up at a point. Almost the same week when Nigeria was borrowing $1.6 billion, from the World Bank, for certain projects. So imagine, the same country now, if the otherwise had happened, we'll be in a situation where we'll be looking for $11 billion, which is not there. Now, readers will find it interesting that this same P&ID story, as they also brought onto the back page of this day an unusual guest columnist. And the guest columnist today, the guest columnist today is the former president, Muhammadu Buhari. He has a piece there, and in the piece he has this rhetorical question, pray who will love this country. It's actually his own review of what has happened, and don't forget that the challenge, to P&ID, actually happened during his administration, as the story as reported on the front page, from the evidence of former Attorney General Andoaka that the central bank under Mr. Godwin Emefiele, resisted it. And also it's also been mentioned, because that one is not prominent in this story, that the EFCC also played a very crucial role under Malam Ibrahim Magu. Ibrahim Magu also was with the former CBN governor, Emefiele, the Attorney General, and I think Alhaji Lai Mohammed, when the initial hope to resist it, and it's in the course of the investigation by EFCC that a lot of the material that Nigeria had to use to give a counterpoise to the fraud which P&ID put in place. But in making a review of this, I think attention should be paid to three lessons which President Buhari has drawn on this matter. One, that it is great news. It gives hope that similar fraudulently procured awards, agreements, that they could also be upturned, and that it should give us hope. And of course, he mentioned some of this. Secondly, that in doing so, that it points to the fact that that's why he asked the rhetorical question that pray who will love this country, that the role of some Nigerians to undo their country by conniving with a problem foreign a company on this matter. And finally, on a very optimistic note, that while we look back at what has happened in Nigeria, that there is hope that it is not all public servants who are corrupt. That this victory that Nigeria was able to score was also likely due to the activities, the role of some public officers who did the right thing, protecting national interest.
Absolutely.
So I think those lessons are very germane. Yeah.
Okay, great. So should we look at the...
Yeah, before we look at this day's style, there's some breaking news. Actor in the United States who played Chandler in Friends, Matthew Perry, has passed at the age of 54. We are I'm heartbroken because I used to love Friends. Shaitan, you said that he died in a pool accident or something?
It's still very early because it happened this morning, but the reports coming in that he passed away from a drowning accident. He's known to be a good swimmer, so I guess as time goes on, we'll find out exactly what had happened. But of course, Matthew Perry was someone that we all loved on the show as Chandler. He had, during his lifetime, had a lot of substance abuse problems, he shared with the world, which was very surprising because you watch his character on the show and you believe that he has everything, sorted. But that's what happens.
I always thought there was a little bit something just.
He was too happy.
Too happy. He was just. He made me too happy. So I always thought, wow, this guy is, he's exceptional in delivering his lines in the way that, we're going to really miss him. He was a great addition to a lot of our lives when we were growing up. May his soul rest in peace.
Amen.
Amen.
All right, let's take this day's style. The cover picture, 3 women talking about their breast cancer story beyond diagnosis. One of them is Joan Ipo, the other is Elizabeth Oputa, and then the third is Eno Isen. I believe that they spoke with Konya about their story. This disease is something that I'm very, that has ripped my heart open because my mother passed from cancer. Any form of cancer is almost like a death sentence. So I'd love to, hear their story. Breast cancer ranks as the second most common cancer among women. While it primarily affects women aged 50 and above, it can also strike younger women. Some women under the age of 40 may believe they are not at risk, but statistics show that 7% of all cases occur in this age group. It is crucial for every woman to stay attuned to their body and any changes they experience because it tends to be more aggressive and spreads rapidly when it strikes at a younger age. Must be a good read. I believe every woman should pick this up and, educate themselves. Absolutely.
Yeah, very topical. Don't forget that we're in the season of cancer, awareness, week, actually, and this is, apart from commending the topicality, of that cover, by this day style, that the role, of private organizations, non-governmental organizations in, generating, awareness, about breast cancer, should be commended because it's very important to complement, whatever government is doing at the official level, in order to combat the problem. Yeah.
Okay, KK, we will concentrate on Sunday Punch, but I'd like you to speak on the cover stories in Punch and Tribune because they're similar. Sorry, Punch says Forex crisis. Federal government plans talks with looters. Eyes mop up from hoarders. The writer said plans $100 billion fund go after others to boost local currency. Naira sustains rise. External reserves gain $76.82 million in 1 week. That's Punch. And for the lead in Tribune, it says new Forex policy will kill local businesses. That's according to the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. An expert warning federal government advised CBN on how to shore up naira against dollar, other currencies. Key two major stories, as cover stories in Punch and Tribune, but there are a few other stories on the cover of Punch that are interesting. The one on the window, 160 billion naira SUVs. Reps take delivery. Senators await luxury jeeps this week. So it looks like it's a done deal.
Especially because of the bad roads.
I mean, the roads are bad, so they need, durable cars, according to our lawmakers. Other stories, $2.5 billion fraud. AGF writes UK, request Diezani's extradition. Tinubu, Obasanjo, others mourn as Iyalode Alaba Lawson dies. Some put her age at 71, others say 72. But unfortunately, she used to be the Iyalode, isn't it? Iyalode of the Yoruba land, I believe. Yes. Alaba Lawson. Yeah. And then one more important story there, Nigeria may become another Venezuela if inflation is not controlled. That's ECBO giving advice to the government and everybody involved. So those are the stories.
Do you intend to quickly touch on the will?
Yes, let's add the will to it so that KK can
quickly,
take them
just one major story on the cover of the will. Presidential election appeal, reactions are trailing Supreme Court judgment. Of course, the ruling ignites calls for electoral judicial reforms and then an INEC overhaul. Experts frown at courts determining elections outcome. Confidence in INEC and judiciary falls to an all-time low over corruption, as they also say the future of Nigeria bleak without restructuring. Of course, this is coming from the Southern and Middle Belt leaders. Your thoughts, Mr. KK?
Okay, just a quick one, KK, because this affects yourself, myself, and Shaitan to an extent. Tribune is saying that comprehensive work on Third Mainland Bridge begins November 1 to last 3 months. Repairs to be carried out at midnight, weekends, says Minister. That's on Third Mainland Bay. We have a minute to go, but let's wrap it all up.
Okay. On the forest stories, both on the front page of Tribune and Punch, I think, and also the advice given by the eminent economist, Professor Ekpo, I think it will be good, for the government to listen, to these voices of and see, how policies are articulated and if there is needs, for amendment to have it, And it's a good thing that when the president, I think last week, addressed the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, he actually said that he will be ready to engage, the private sectors and also welcome, their ideas, their input into policy making, Yes, if you permit, on the front page of Vanguard, a story that is relating to this story of PA&ID, I think is a very important story because we have just escaped 11 billion naira body, And that's the story of Professor Sage, the eminent professor. Yes, denying that that he has nothing to do. P&ID, and that is just thoroughly embarrassed that his name is being mentioned, that he acted as a consultant, in the process.
The good prof is attacking Shashore there. Black Shashore.
So I think it's important to point that out. He made a statement in Abuja, saying that he is not in any way connected, to that is scandalized that his name is mentioned, that he didn't play any role there. I think it's important to highlight that.
All right. So I guess that's all we can take on newspaper review this morning. I'd like to thank you very much for joining us on newspaper review this morning. We'll see you next week on Sunday.
And thank you, Shay.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you
all right.
very much.
That brings us to the end of the morning show today. Thank you for watching and do stay safe. I'm Steve Ayorinde.